and welcome back to Football Made Simple.
Pep Guardiola and Mikel Arteta faced off once again in the Premier League. Both Arsenal and City have been in good form, making this an interesting proposition. In the end, City came out on top of a heated battle, 2-1 thanks to Riyad Mahrez and RODRI, after Saka had opened the scoring. The XG indicated that City were well on top in terms of chance quality. But this was misleading, as besides the penalty and scrappy late goal, they didn't create more than Arsenal. But what tactics did both managers use? Let's take a look. Just before then, I am delighted to announce a new sponsor and fantasy football game that I think you'll probably love, Spitch. Spitch is a subset of OneFootball, giving you the best fantasy football experience. We know how hard it is to keep updating your team every week, but with Spitch, you can pick a new team every week to compete against your mates and everybody else on many different pitches. So, instead of having to play every week to win a prize at the end of the season, you can win a weekly prize by playing whenever you feel like it. These prizes include a Scrucer e-scooter, AirPods, and so much more. To get playing, all you have to do is download Spitch absolutely free through the link in the description below and give it a go, and it helps to support the channel. It's currently only available in the UK and Ireland, and for 18 years and older. And a quick reminder of the formations that both managers used. Let's begin with City in possession, as they did finish with 71% of the ball. When City had the ball from the goal kick, if they dropped their centre-backs alongside Ederson, Arsenal could be effective in the press. This was in the shape of a rough 4-4-2, with ODEGAARD joining Lacazette in the press and making it harder for City to go short. One way that City looked to combat this was by starting with both centre-backs extremely wide, which would draw the Arsenal wingers out of position. City would then have 3 men in the wide regions, and Arsenal did deal with this well defensively. If Arsenal had committed their fullbacks to press the City fullbacks, then the City winger would have been free high up, or would have dragged the entire backline out of position. So instead, the Arsenal pivots were well disciplined, and we often saw one come across to cover the fullback, allowing the Arsenal fullback to remain in position. But even when City were in open play, Arsenal put up a good defensive effort. Arsenal could be passive when needed, sitting in a mid 4-2-3-1 block and having no interest in pressing, and ODEGAARD being primarily focused on cutting out the ball into RODRI. City did adapt to this at times, with Bernardo Silva often dropping deeper to be the second pivot and create a 2 versus 1 against ODEGAARD. But Partey and SAKA were aggressive in the press, so at least one of them would join looking to cut off the second man. But this did mean at times De Bruyne would have space to be found between the lines. But one thing to note is the role of Ake. As a natural centre-back, he's not as aggressive as Cancelo can be when moving forward, or as adept on the ball in central areas as Zinchenko. So he was primarily a third centre-back. And Arsenal were good in the press in these situations, with Lacazette and Saka, whilst ODEGAARD remained deeper looking to cut off RODRI. Lacazette would press down the left-hand side, with Martinelli looking after Cancelo. So Diaz would often play the ball back in field. And rather than remain wide, Saka was aggressive in then pressing Laporte on his blind shoulder, whilst cutting off the passing lane with his cover shadow, making it so Laporte was often forced backwards. But on the rare occasions City were able to get the ball to Ake regardless, they could make some progress. City did also adapt to the Arsenal pressing shape. With Saka on Ake or Laporte, rather than remain fairly central, De Bruyne was aggressive in moving out to the left-hand side to try and create an overload against Tomiyasu. It left Partey in 2 minds. If he came across to cover De Bruyne, the dropping Jesus would be able to be found between the lines. At the same time, if he remained central, now De Bruyne could be found. When Arsenal were looking to be more aggressive in the press, ODEGAARD could become the third presser, looking to use his cover shadow to still cut out RODRI, which was an essential ploy from Arsenal. And rather than drop a midfielder deep to create the numerical advantage, Pep used EDERSON as the fourth defender to create the 4 versus 3. However, Arsenal only allowed Ake to be the extra man, as when he would receive, even with a bit of space, he was not particularly progressive with the ball. It should be noted that Cancelo generally operated narrow when City were attacking. With RODRI as a single pivot, this could make City vulnerable on the transition. Martinelli in particular would move extremely wide on the transition, so he could receive the first pass and then progress the ball into dangerous regions. But even with 10 men, Arsenal defended fairly well, with an extremely narrow 4-4-1, allowing them to protect the centre. This was effective as both Sterling and Mahrez were inverted, so their natural movements would be in towards the traffic in the centre. City did try to switch to a T midfield in the build-up, so that they always had men between the lines. But rather than be drawn to pressing RODRI and opening up passing lanes to the men between the lines, they held their positions, making it harder for any balls to be played between the lines. Arsenal had less than 30% possession, but let's take a look at a couple of elements. From the goal kick, Arsenal looked to drop the 2 centre-backs into the box alongside Ramsdale. However, with Jesus and De Bruyne ready to press, Ramsdale was often forced to go long early. In open play, it was interesting to note that the fullbacks were fairly conservative in the early stages, looking to provide outlets rather than being attacking possibilities, probably because their centre-backs were consistently pressed man-to-man. But against City's 4-4-2, Arsenal always had a spare man in the midfield. City's midfield was aggressive in their man-to-man press against the Arsenal pivots, so ODEGAARD was often the free man. He would often drift to the left, looking to cause an overload against the potentially more cumbersome Ake. But he could also remain central. We see that midfield overload in the Arsenal goal. Bernardo and RODRI are higher, and RODRI is drawn to the ball, so ODEGAARD is found free between the lines. He can then spread it wide to Tierney, leading to the cross and goal. But overall, Arsenal put up a valiant fight in this match, with a lot of reasons for optimism going into the new year. City on the other hand would be delighted with 3 points in any way they can get them, with Liverpool due to play against Chelsea tomorrow. And overall, on the tactical score, Arteta scores a strong 8, with his work in defence being particularly impressive. Pep earns a middling 5, as City still controlled the game, however, they looked vulnerable at times. And if you enjoyed this video, you may also enjoy the FMS Patreon. On Patreon, you'll get early access to videos, exclusive videos, as well as the ability to vote on various polls and so much more. It's a great way to support the channel, and it is now cheaper than ever. All you have to do is head over to patreon.com/footballmadesimple, or press the card in the top right or the end card at the end of this video. And a special thanks to my patrons including Ufulu Majawa, Tony Chen, and Haloma.
But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.